Hey guys, so I've got 5 reasons for you why it's really important and you should fast from social media. I think a lot of people are super aware nowadays of like the dopamine issue that exists with social media, and like the phone in general. So, but let me just talk about that and the 5 reasons and benefits why you should consider and actually stick with a social media fast. This is coming from personal experience of doing many social media fasts. My first attempt was a couple years ago, and I said, okay, I'm promising, I'm committing to 30 days, God. And by the time I hit the 30 days, I really wanted like nothing to do with social media. I had a lot of revelation about the impact that it was having on me, and I didn't go on social media. Like I didn't go on Facebook or Instagram for like another 7 or 8 months. And then the next time I did a fast, I was off for like a couple months. And then other times I've gone back on, but I've had greater revelation about how to better manage. Although I tend to end up falling into the same patterns and routines anyways, eventually. So anyways, this is all from learning experience. So it's my personal opinion, but certainly things that I've heard other people say too. All right, so number one is you break the cycle of addiction of dopamine. There's a lot of ways that we receive dopamine, and dopamine is a neurotransmitter that helps regulate mood and our ability to accomplish things and so many other things. It's kind of known as like a feel-good chemical. And so the way we are right now with our phones, like texting and receiving kind of like notifications and likes and things like that on social media, regardless of the platform you're on, you'll notice like if you're someone who, this applies to a lot of people, right? If you're someone who, you know, you check your phone regularly, you go to like check your email, but then you end up on social media, or you go on social media real quick and then you end up scrolling for hours, or it becomes like an escape mechanism for you. I mean, or you're thinking about fasting from it and like you literally can't bring yourself to do it. Like you find that you actually get more addicted to it, or you're like worried about letting it go, or you can't, or something like that. You can't. These are all signs that you have a pretty healthy addiction to social media, and probably a real issue with this being a main source of dopamine release. Plenty of other ways to have healthy means of dopamine release. Exercise is one, eating healthy is actually another, accomplishing tasks. These are all other means, and there's plenty others. Even like hanging out with people and socializing and like having a nice warm hug with someone, like these are all other sources of receiving dopamine that are much more healthy. So number one is that you break that cycle, because once you're off social media, it's only going to take a few days before it's not as like, where you don't feel as much of a grip or like an obsession, if you will, to go on it or check it or whatever. Me personally, some people can just like close out of it. I've had to sometimes even delete it off my phone completely. So you know yourself, whatever you can handle. So the second one is that you get quiet enough to actually recognize the distractions in your life. This isn't just social media, but social media can be like an escape, a distraction, a source of socializing, but not actually really connecting with people. It's kind of like a surface level socializing. And all of those things are like really time consuming and engulfing, and when you're off of those things, suddenly you realize all the other areas that you've been distracted by, simply just because you have more quiet time. When we are able to get still and quiet, we get a lot of revelation. Now, it's a whole other video if you have a hard time getting still. That's a whole other topic, a whole other video. If you want to know more about that, you can comment. I think that might be a big part of actually why people avoid fasting from social media, because of the kind of things that come up when they're alone or still or quiet, and the discomfort that that might come with. But so number 2 was that you have a better idea of what's actually other things in your life that are actually distracting you. Number 3 is that you get quiet enough to hear nudges. What do I mean by this? Sometimes we're so caught up and so distracted by social media or all these other things that your brain is just elsewhere. You're so consumed by socializing or scrolling or dissociating that you've kind of numbed out to a certain extent. And we have to be quiet and humble and still enough to be able to kind of receive these little nudges, if you will, these little reminders that just come up very, very quickly and very softly. That maybe you have a memory or a reminder of someone that you haven't talked to in a while, someone that you were supposed to call back but you didn't, something you were supposed to follow through on but you didn't, a person to reach out to, something to do, right? Whatever, the nudge can be anything, the reminder can be anything. It's just whatever it is that you haven't been doing, right? So that's really important, because I have really found that in my quiet, I will suddenly remember random things like, oh, you bought a book like 4 months ago and you never touched it, right? Oh, let me go start reading the book, right? And then I get something so profound from reading that book that really spoke to me and impacted me in some kind of way. So there's this kind of like domino effect, this trickle effect, if you will. Or other examples are like someone who I haven't spoken to in a while, that like maybe we had plans a few months ago to like go for a walk or connect or follow up or whatever. And just like life and distractions and being caught up. But like, let's be honest, a lot of that time you're spending just like on social media, you know? Suddenly I'm remembering like, oh yeah, I never like followed up with them, or they never followed up with me. So like, let me reach out, and like, then we make plans and we connect, and it's, you know, we have an opportunity for like fellowship or community connection, relating to one another, helping one another. Like there's so much that comes from it that we just, I don't know, I really have kind of gotten to this place of realizing we waste a lot of time on social media. So 4. So 3 was you get quiet enough to hear the nudges. 4 is you have time to do the things that you've been avoiding or procrastinating. So this is like in addition to the other 2. So in other words, maybe you've had like a project or something you started working on. I know plenty of people who like they want to write a book, or they want to do a blog post, or they want to go somewhere, or they want to you know, complete this class, or they want to sign up for this thing or whatever, and we don't do those things because we're so consumed. Like we often feel super busy, right? And we're like, oh, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for that. But like, if we get really real and honest, it requires realness. And you're like, okay, wait, how much time am I actually spending having kind of like surface level conversations or connections with people that are not deeply rooted or meaningful? They're just people to like kill time with. Or how much time am I spending just aimlessly scrolling? How much time am I spending watching pointless videos that do me no real good other than offer a distraction to my life, right? And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what you're trying to do. I don't know. But when you're no longer doing those things, you realize and you're reminded of all these things that you've put to the side, or all the things that you're procrastinating. And then frankly, you just have more time. Social media no longer becomes the tool in which you use to procrastinate. It no longer becomes the tool in which you distract yourself. So you just are forced to have all that more time. And it's a lot of time. It can be, right? And 5, and this is certainly not least of all of the 5, perhaps the most important, is that plain and simple, you just get more time with God. When you are not constantly procrastinating or distracting yourself or dissociating or having these aimless conversations, And I don't, you know, I don't want people to take offense. Like, I don't mean that the people you're talking to, that it's pointless, but in some cases, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just a distraction. And I think that's up to each of us to just get real about how much time we're spending doing that, or how much time we're spending just watching videos, or laughing, or whatever, you know, but not actually really connecting with people. I think what I'm trying to say is that there are things that really matter in life, okay? And it's not that those things aren't fine to do every once in a while, but if we are living our life avoiding the things that really matter, the things that when you get older, you're going to look back on and you're going to be like, yeah, that really mattered. And I'm glad I spent the time pursuing that, you know, instead of regretting that you didn't because you spent so much of your time aimlessly doing something else, right? So ultimately, when we have all that extra time, when we're not procrastinating, when we're not distracted, when we're not aimlessly scrolling or aimlessly having conversations, more of that time goes to God, and it should be going to God regardless. It should already be going to Him, but we often, you often hear with Christians that like they're very busy or they have a lot of things going on and they put off their time with God and they don't prioritize it. But yet, if we're real with ourselves, how much of that time is spent on social media? Are you, when you're waking up, picking up your phone and going right to social media and killing an hour, half an hour, or 2 hours, I don't know, when like you could be starting your day with God, and therefore experiencing more peace, more joy, greater revelation, being able to receive a word, encouragement, insight, right? It deepening your intimacy with God, feeling closer to Him, just deepening your revelation of His character. Like, so much comes obviously from spending time with God. And the more that we are not, the more we miss out on. So those are my 5 reasons of why you should seriously consider fasting from social media, or if you've already started, why you should stay committed to it. And frankly, I think why we should do it regularly. I certainly think that there's even more. I think just as a bonus, I'll throw out the additional, like, you get clarity, just like plain and simple. When your mind is not distracted and or dissociating, you just get greater level of clarity in like all areas of your life. Another thing that's personally happened to me is the more time I'm off social media and the more time I'm spending with the Lord, the more sensitive I become to the Holy Spirit. And when I go back on social media, I see how many worldly things there are actually having like small impacts on me or big impacts on me. It's led to me unfollowing certain people or certain sites or things. Like, it's led to me really reconsidering like what I'm giving my time and attention to. When you're spending more time with God, you're gonna become more sensitive to the Holy Spirit making you more holy and sanctified. And there's a lot of things that we expose ourselves to that are very unholy and unsanctified. And so, you know, one thing that you may notice is if you go off for a long period of time and you go back on, you might find that you're incredibly sensitive and more aware of how certain things or certain people impact you. And so that's it. I gave you, I guess, 2 additional ones. So let me know what you think. If you've also done a social media fast and you've had additional benefits, by all means, throw it in the comments. If you think this was helpful, please like, subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.